Most men think attraction begins with what they do. But what if I told you it actually begins with what they fail to notice? And for women over 40, the thing you're missing isn't physical, it's psychological. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is not something women usually explain out loud. Not because they're hiding it, but because they assume you should already understand it. And when you don't, something subtle breaks before anything meaningful even begins. By the time a woman crosses 40, she is no longer chasing intensity, she is protecting her peace. That shift alone changes everything about how she experiences connection, attraction, and yes, even touch. Most men walk in thinking touch is physical initiation, a hand on her arm, a move closer, a signal of desire. But what she's actually responding to happens long before your hand ever gets near her. She wants to feel seen before she feels touched, not looked at,
not scanned, not evaluated, seen. There's a difference, and if you miss it, you will always feel like you're almost there, but never quite getting through. A woman over 40 has lived enough life to recognize patterns instantly. She can sense when a man is trying to impress versus when he's actually present. She can feel when attention is strategic versus when it's genuine. And the moment she detects effort without depth, her guard doesn't just go up, it locks. So when we say she wants to be touched here first, understand this. It's not about a place on her body, it's her mind. If you don't engage her mind, your touch feels empty. If you don't respect her emotional space, your presence feels intrusive. If you don't create safety, your interest feels like pressure. And pressure is the fastest way to lose a woman who has already decided she will never again settle for something that disturbs her inner calm. This is where most men get it wrong. They rush the external without earning access to the internal. They think confidence means boldness, when in reality, true confidence at this stage means restraint, awareness, and control. She's not impressed by how quickly you move. She's observing how deeply you understand. Think about it. A woman in her 20s might respond to excitement, unpredictability, even a little chaos. But a woman over 40? She's filtering for something else entirely. Consistency, emotional intelligence, intent, and most importantly, how you make her feel when nothing is happening. Because that's the real test. Not the moment you touch her, but the moments before you even consider it. Does she feel relaxed around you? Does she feel heard when she speaks? Does she feel like she can drop her guard, even slightly? If the answer is no, then no physical gesture will fix that. In fact, it will only confirm what she already suspects, that you don't truly understand her. But when you get it right, something shifts. She leans in without realizing it. Her tone softens, her body language opens, and suddenly you're not trying to make a move, you're simply moving with her energy. That's when touch becomes natural, not forced, invited, not taken. And here's the truth most men aren't ready to hear. A woman over 40 is not waiting to be impressed. She's waiting to feel safe enough to be herself again. And the man who gives her that feeling, he stands out instantly. Not because he's louder, not because he's more aggressive, but because he understands something deeper, that connection isn't built through action first, it's built through awareness. So before you think about where to place your hand, ask yourself something far more important. Have you earned the right to be close to her at all? Because if you haven't reached her mind, her emotions, her sense of trust, then you haven't even arrived at the moment where touch matters.
And that's the moment most men never realize they've already lost. What most men don't realize is that a woman over 40 isn't responding to what you do, she's responding to what you represent. And the moment you enter her space, she's already asking herself a silent question. Does this man add calm to my life, or does he complicate it? You won't hear her say it, but you'll feel the answer in how she responds to you. Because at this stage in her life, she has nothing left to prove. She's already experienced the highs, the disappointments, the promises that didn't hold. So now her attraction is no longer driven by curiosity, it's guided by protection. And this is where your presence becomes everything. Not your looks, not your lines, not even your confidence in the way you think of it. It's your emotional steadiness, that quiet, grounded energy that tells her, I'm not here to take something from you. I'm here to understand you. Most men underestimate how powerful that is. They try to entertain, impress, or escalate too quickly, not realizing that to her, that energy feels familiar and not in a good way. It feels like pressure, and pressure creates distance. But when a man slows down, when he listens without interrupting, when he notices without reacting, when he speaks with intention instead of filling silence, something changes. She begins to relax. And when she relaxes, she becomes receptive. This is the real first touch most men miss. It's not physical, it's emotional permission. You're not touching her skin, you're touching her sense of safety. And safety, to a woman who has lived through enough, is the most attractive feeling you can offer. Think about how rare that is. A man who doesn't rush, a man who doesn't need validation, a man who isn't trying to win her, but is simply present with her. That kind of energy stands out immediately because it's not common. And here's something even deeper. A woman over 40 doesn't just want to be desired. She wants to be understood without having to explain herself. That's the level you're stepping into. So when she shares something small, an opinion, a memory, even a subtle shift in tone, she's watching closely. Do you catch it? Do you respect it? Or do you overlook it because you're focused on your next move? This is where attraction is either built or quietly lost. Because when she feels like you're not truly tuned in, she doesn't confront you. She withdraws, gradually, silently, until one day you're left wondering what changed. But when you are tuned in, when you respond thoughtfully, when you match her pace, when you show that you're not just hearing her, but actually processing her, something powerful happens. She starts to trust you. And trust is the gateway to everything you think you want. Without it, nothing meaningful happens. With it, everything becomes natural. Even touch. Because by the time you reach that moment, it's no longer a question of, should I? It's already been answered by her energy, her proximity, her openness, her comfort in your presence. And here's where most men get confused. They think attraction is about creating a spark. But for a woman over 40, attraction is about removing resistance. The less resistance she feels around you, the more naturally she moves closer. And resistance doesn't come from what you say, it comes from how you make her feel. Do you make her feel rushed, judged, uncertain? Or do you make her feel calm, respected, and at ease? That's the difference. That's the invisible line between being just another man she interacts with and becoming someone she actually lets in. Because once she lets you in, even slightly, you're no longer competing, you're connecting. And connection is what leads everything else. So before you think about escalation, before you think about making your move, ask yourself something most men avoid asking. Are you creating a space where she wants to be closer to you? Or are you unknowingly giving her reasons to stay guarded? Because the truth is simple, even if it's uncomfortable, if she doesn't feel emotionally safe with you, no physical gesture will ever feel right to her. But if she does, you won't have to force anything. She'll meet you there. And that's the moment where everything begins to shift. There's a moment most men never recognize, and it's the moment that determines everything. It's not when she laughs at your joke. It's not when she agrees to see you again. It's not even when she stands a little closer than before. It's the moment she decides, quietly, internally, that you are either emotionally safe or just another experience she doesn't need. And once that decision is made, everything you do after either reinforces it or slowly erases any chance you had. A woman over 40 has refined instincts. She doesn't need time to figure you out the way she once did.
She reads energy faster than words. She senses intention behind behavior. And most importantly, she trusts her feelings more than your explanations. So if something feels off, she doesn't argue with it. She steps back. This is why so many men feel confused. They think things were going well. Conversations flowed. There was eye contact, maybe even subtle signs of interest. And then, distance. No explanation, no conflict. Just a quiet shift. But what really happened is this: you touched the wrong thing first. Not physically, emotionally. You triggered uncertainty instead of trust. Maybe you rushed a moment that wasn't ready. Maybe you shifted from being present to being performative. Maybe you stopped listening and started trying. And she felt it, because women at this stage don't respond to effort the way you think they do. They respond to alignment. Does your behavior match your energy? Does your attention feel steady, or does it spike and disappear? Do your words carry weight, or are they just filling space? She notices all of it. And here's the part most men struggle to accept. Attraction for her is no longer about excitement. It's about emotional consistency. That means she's not asking, is he interesting? She's asking, is he reliable in how he shows up? And reliability doesn't mean predictable in a boring way. It means stable in a way that allows her to relax. Because when she relaxes, something powerful happens. She becomes open again. And openness is what every man thinks he's trying to achieve, but very few know how to create. You don't create openness by pushing. You create it by removing the need for her to protect herself. Think about how rare that feels for her. A space where she doesn't have to question your intentions. A presence that doesn't feel like it's leading her somewhere she didn't choose. A man who isn't subtly demanding her energy, attention, or validation. That's where the real connection begins. And once that connection is there, touch stops being a move. It becomes a reflection, a natural extension of what's already been built between you. Her body follows her emotional state. Always. So if she feels calm with you, her body will move closer without resistance. If she feels understood, her guard lowers without effort. If she feels respected, she opens without fear. And when all of those align, touch becomes effortless. Not because you timed it perfectly, but because you didn't disrupt the emotional rhythm that was already forming. This is why subtlety matters more than boldness here. You're not trying to take the lead in the way you've been taught. You're learning to read the moment, to feel when she's leaning in emotionally, not just physically, to notice when her responses deepen instead of staying surface level, to recognize when silence between you feels comfortable instead of awkward. These are the real signals, not the obvious ones, not the ones most men chase. And when you start seeing them, everything changes. Because now you're not guessing, you're responding. And there's a quiet confidence in that, a grounded presence that doesn't need to prove anything. That's what draws her in. Not intensity, not pressure, not performance, but a man who understands that the most powerful thing he can do is create a space where she feels like herself again. Because here's the truth that changes everything. A woman over 40 isn't looking for someone to impress her. She's looking for someone who doesn't disturb her peace. And the moment she feels like you protect that peace instead of threatening it, you stop being just another man in her world. You become someone she wants to be close to. And that's when touch finally means something. There is a very specific moment in attraction that most men completely misread. It's the moment she stops analyzing you and starts feeling you. And when that shift happens, everything becomes quieter, slower, and far more powerful than anything you've been taught to chase. A woman over 40 doesn't fall into attraction the way younger women might. She doesn't get swept away by novelty. She gets drawn in by emotional precision, how accurately you read her without her needing to explain herself. Because at this stage in her life, she is tired of explaining, tired of repeating, tired of being misunderstood and then being told she's too complicated. So when she meets a man who doesn't force her to over-explain her own feelings, something inside her softens. And that softness is where everything begins. This is where touch becomes meaningful,
Not because it's initiated, but because it's allowed. There's a difference. Most men think permission is spoken,
but in reality, it's felt long before any words are exchanged. It shows up in the way she stays a little longer in conversation, the way her body turns slightly toward you instead of away, the way her eyes don't rush to escape contact, the way she pauses instead of immediately responding. These are not random behaviours. They are signals of internal safety. And internal safety is the foundation of all real intimacy. Without it, touch feels invasive. With it, touch feels natural. And here is the part most men never truly understand. A woman over 40 is not reacting to your physical presence first. She is reacting to the emotional environment you create. If that environment feels chaotic, uncertain, or performative, she retreats, even if she is smiling. But if that environment feels steady, calm, and unforced, she leans in. Not because she decided to, but because her nervous system feels it is safe to do so. That is the level you are really working with, not seduction, not strategy, but emotional regulation between two people.
And when you reach that level, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. You stop trying to impress her, and she stops trying to guard herself from you. That mutual relaxation is where real connection lives. And from there, touch is no longer a move. It becomes confirmation of what is already understood. A light touch on the hand doesn't feel like an attempt. It feels like continuity. A closer distance doesn't feel invasive. It feels natural. Even silence between you doesn't feel awkward anymore. It feels comfortable. And comfort is what she has been searching for far longer than she will ever say out loud. Because comfort at this stage of life is not boring. It is rare. And anything rare becomes valuable. This is why the men who succeed with women over 40 are not the ones who try the hardest. They are the ones who understand timing, presence, and emotional restraint.
They don't rush what is already unfolding. They don't interrupt what is already forming. They don't force what is already moving in their direction. Instead, they align with it. And that alignment is what creates depth. So when you think about touch, stop thinking about initiation. Start thinking about response. Is she emotionally with you? Is she physically orienting toward you? Is she relaxed enough that closeness doesn't feel like pressure? If the answer is yes, you don't need to force anything. If the answer is no, no technique will fix it. Because attraction at this level is not built through action alone. It is built through how safely she can exist in your presence. And here is the final truth most men miss entirely. A woman over 40 doesn't remember the men who touched her first. She remembers the men who made her feel understood before anything physical ever happened. That is what lingers. That is what stays in her mind long after the moment has passed. Not the touch itself, but the emotional experience that made the touch feel right. So if you want to be different from every man she's already met, don't ask yourself where to touch her first. Ask yourself something far more powerful. Does she feel more like herself when she is around me, or less? Because if she feels more like herself with you, she will naturally come closer. And when she does, you won't need to guess anymore. Everything will already be decided in how she chooses to stay. Now, think about this honestly. What matters more to attraction? What you say, or how safe she feels when you say nothing at all? Write your answer in the comments. And if this made you see relationships differently, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to understand what real connection actually means.